That's what I'm talking about, son. Get you some of that daggone pie.
Woo-hoo! Looky there. There's your bug-eyed big one right there.
Getting started. We're getting started.
Here's what I'm talking about. Gosh dang gorilla.
Let's go, baby. Straight meat. God, look at that big one.
Hey, welcome everybody to another edition of the BAM Pod. This is Big Ed, your host, and just doing a quick lead-in on this one. This is a show that I guess I've been waiting to do for a little while. It's one that I'm going to continue to do a series on, and this is actually with Nicole Jacobs, and it is a series I like to call the Women on the Water. And it's basically just giving a first-hand experience from different women who will be out there on the water, fishing tournaments, fishing in the industry in general, not just bass tournaments, but in the outdoors, and being being out there and seeing what their experiences are with the sport and the industry, and the way that they're treated, the way that they are accepted or not accepted. And we're just trying to let them have a little bit of a voice here. And this is one of the episodes that I really, really wanted to do. And Nicole was able to come on here. And I hope you enjoy it, because this is a show that I really enjoyed doing and really enjoyed recording. And she's a heck of a person. So let's get on with it right here, right now. Welcome to the BAM Pod. All right, everybody, welcome into the show. This is, either you're listening to this on the podcast, or you're watching this on the YouTube channel. So we'll kind of keep it to what it is. But welcome to the show. And tonight's guest is a lady I met in Florida, and she is a tournament angler. She's also just a bass fisherman in general, and a fisherman, and this is definitely part of one of our Women on the Water series. This is the second installment here, and I went out and I got us Nicole Jacobs, who is just a heck of a person. I got to talk with her a little bit, got to do some chatting about what I wanted to do with the Women on the Water series, and talk about the whole world of bass fishing and the whole world of fishing in general and the outdoors a little bit, and why more women not only need to be in here, but should be in here and just aren't right now. So that's kind of what the topic of the show is. Nicole, welcome in. I appreciate you coming on.
Oh, welcome. Thanks for having me.
That's okay.
Thanks for having me.
I let in with the whole thing, and that's basically, what I wanted to talk to you about. We've talked quite a few times now about this topic, and my questions has been, I asked Nikki Jo Hatton when I had her on the show the same question. This is let me preface the question with this. This is a sport, in my opinion, that is so level, so even keeled. Everybody has a shot. This is not something that's an elitist. You do not have to be a 300-pound man to go out there and push another 300-pound man around. You can be whatever, and as long as you're competing against the water, the fish, the weather, the everything else, you have just as much right and just as much effort and ability to go out there and compete and be in this sport. And it doesn't matter which, in my opinion, it doesn't matter women, man, whatever. This is the levelest playing field we have. And I'd love to hear your opinion. I've heard it. I know what it is, but I want to share it with everybody, because I think you have a very, very valid opinion. I think your grasp on this concept is second to none. So it's definitely important to hear a lot of the things you have to say, and I want to share that with everybody. So why don't you give us a little bit of your opinions on this stuff?
Well, thank you. So, I've always, since the beginning, I started doing bass fishing tournaments. I got into bass fishing tournaments after my father died in 2012, and it fueled my whole career. He was the one that taught me about fishing at an early age, and I wanted to honor his life. I never thought it would get to the degree it did in terms of competing at the level I did, and then years later going on a mission trip with my church, and then 6 months later after that, getting a call from Walmart, doing well in a Bassmaster Open as a co-angler. I got 14th place, so I've been very lucky and fortunate. My whole entire, I wanted to just make the groundwork first before this, my whole entire reasoning to be in fishing is to bring people to Christ and to bring people to fishing. It's to empower others to follow their passion through faith and vision. So with that being said, like if we're talking just tournament bass fishing, in terms of, yes, I've always said from the beginning of my career, fish don't discriminate. And if we're just talking about bass fishing in general as a competitive sport, it's just you against the fish. But the problem is that fish don't discriminate, but people do. So to say that women and men have equal opportunity, we do have an equal opportunity, but it's not the same. So you fishing in a tournament versus one woman or two women in a tournament fishing against 500 guys, it's not the same for us. So I'm not going to sit here and turn a blind eye and pretend and like just comply with the industry and say it is. It's just not. So I feel as a woman, we have a duty and responsibility to be welcome mats in the industry, not doormats. Because a lot of it, especially with the women competing in the bass fishing world, I feel there's a scarcity complex that only one woman can succeed, only one woman can make the elites or try, and that's justified. It's because we've had this concept, we're in a male dominated sport. To me, this is a very privileged sport. This is a sport that has predominantly catered to white men. So we have to just have these courageous conversations and start talking about it. So where do you want to go?
For me, I am an open book here. I'm writing this thing. I am telling this story. I am trying to bring this to light. I have no place to start with other than the fact that I am definitely someone who believes that when you have the opportunity that I believe we have in this sport to be one of the most leaders in making sure that men of color, women in general have a right to come out and compete and are not discriminated against. This is a heck of a sport for it. We stand up at every event, almost everywhere, whether it's a club, whether it's this, that, or the other, it doesn't matter. There's a national anthem played. Men and women stand up, they put their hand over their heart and they say, I'm an American and I'm going to stand for this flag and I'm going to stand for this anthem. But at the same time, there is some hypocrisy to that in the sense that they will stand for that flag and they will say, hey, I don't believe in what those people are doing in the NFL. I don't believe what they're doing in there. Okay, that's fine. And I have no problem with anybody else's opinion whatsoever. But don't say that and then be a part of a sport that is so negative towards other, whether it be genders or race. It's not, I'm not saying that this sport is negative. I'm saying that it is not inclusive and not from any other stance in the fact that it's just not happening. And I put some of that on the women. They're just not out there doing it also. And I put that on men of color. I'm not men or women of color. I'm not saying they're not doing it. Or I'm not saying that they're not being allowed to do it. They're not doing it. So are we, do you feel like we're holding them back? Or do you feel like we are just, it's a good old boys club and only certain people are let in?
It is a good old boys club. It's been a good old boys club. Predominantly fishing has always been a good old boys club. It's a male dominated sport. So with that being said, for the last decade, things haven't changed. When we look at statistics, even this year alone, there's I think it was 18.7 million women anglers. Women make up 38% of the industry, according to Take Me Fishing. And this is what I'm talking about, my women making wave stuff. But they're dropping out at alarming rates. They're not competing. They're dropping out ahead of time. It's because they literally don't see themselves in the sport or have a will or want. Two things. Yeah, it is on us. It's on us women, and it's on the industry. A lot of the industry has catered marketing plans, marketing teams. If you look at ads, we were challenged at ICAST how many actual companies had legit, authentic anglers in their ads, and it was less than 10 than all those companies. What I say about that, it's a very delicate line, because I think a lot of companies will just pick a woman of anyone to just fill a quota. And I feel that companies use women as fashion accessories rather than actual legit anglers. And that's what there's been. So this is why there's so much confusion and like people are sensitive about talking about women in fishing. It's like, but we need to have these courageous conversations because we're not thinking outside of the box. We've been thinking like, this is how it has to be. This is how it's always been. That's just not it. So us women are challenging that, especially me, just to encourage people to think differently. Even though I agree with you, like fish don't discriminate, but we're talking about just competing. But it is different for us. So how do we retain those anglers? How do we make it more open? And I really feel the women making wave stuff, this isn't just for competitive fishing. This is fishing as a whole. It's about empowering each other, even if we have difference in opinions, and moving in the right direction together. Women are hands down the biggest setback for other women in the industry. Whether we are called, you know, and people don't want to have these conversations because then we're immediately labeled as it's controversy or it's chaos or it's drama. It's just not true. This is the double standard in the industry. Women are held to a double standard. You and I compete in a tournament. I say I beat you, and you and say it's always something. Oh, she's just a co-angler, or she just got that sponsor because she's just a pretty face. Or when I got the Walmart deal, it was, oh, she's related to the Jacobs, or when Jacobs, and my nest name's Jacobs. That's why it's always the undermining our efforts and ability. We have to walk on eggshells. We are held under a microscope in the industry. So it's not the same at all. I've had things happen to me, which it makes me stronger. Like personally, I love to compete against guys. So it makes me stronger, and I'm happy with that. Some people just don't want to do it because there's a lot of different things going on that people are not talking about. Women have been harassed at tournaments. Women have been sexualized. I've had a female angler. I'm going to just say this right now because she said I could share this at a tournament. I'm not going to say what circuit, legit first time doing this as a co-angler. Her boater friends put a sex toy in her live well. Legit. And the industry didn't do it. Excuse me, but they didn't do anything about it. Paying for her entries? No, that guy should have been DQ'd. Do you think like that's going to happen? Like, do I need to put tampons in guys' live wells to make it like change? What is it going to take? Like, so it's just building awareness and having these conversations. You asked me, why hasn't someone like made it to the elites? We have not seen the progression of women retention in the industry for that to happen. There's just not, like, now that there's college leagues and things like that, I think when 10 years we'll see that. We have not done a good job in the bass fishing world. It's not about special treatment. It's about acknowledging the fact and being welcoming and having these conversations and not gaslighting, not diminishing their voice, not saying, well, she's just controversial, she's just a feminist. That these are all things I've been called. The most recent one was on the Colin Kaepernick of bass fishing, which is just funny to me because I'm just have a different view, and I'm choosing just to raise my voice and be mindful and thoughtful. And I think the bass fishing world in general has had a very closed-minded approach. And maybe
well, let me stop you real quick because I want to make 2 points on this. That one, Colin Kaepernick's stuff has nothing to do with this. His opinions were completely taken out of context and still are to this day. And I don't side with him in any way, shape, or form. 2, when you say that, you know, people have called you a feminist, people have said this about the other, I think what a lot of people will say, because I've said this, I think one of the things is that yes, there are women out there competing. I don't know how many of them you know, you still have to qualify, you still have to do these things, you still have to make it up there if that's your goal, right?
If that's your goal. That's not my goal right now. Like, I don't care. Like, I know why God put me in the industry. So why am I going to be held to that standard if I don't really, you know what I'm saying? For so long, women have been told we have to fit this mold. This is an industry for everybody. That's what my shirt says. The water's open to everybody. We don't have to follow the footsteps of men.
We talked about that a little earlier. You know, we talked about maybe there should be a women's league, maybe there shouldn't be. You're on one side of that fence and I'm on the other, but for totally different reasons. I don't believe, I would rather see women step up and maybe make some adjustments in the rules to where if they don't feel comfortable with fishing in a man in a boat, they can have their, you know, a woman be drawn. They can bring somebody with them. They can, you know, whatever. when you hear about it's always sad to hear the sexual harassment goes on in this day and age. I mean, we are in a ridiculous day and age where sexual harassment can happen nowhere because it's out there, but we still allow things like that to happen in groups like this, and it's right.
Like the women are blamed.
Well, and other women blame them.
It's always a
that can be such a big part of it. I think you've said, you mentioned that. It's like, oh, well, she deserved it because she shouldn't have been out there anyways, from other women. And that's a hard deal to look at.
It's a scarcity. It's a fragility, scarcity complex in the industry. That's what it is. And that's why women, I love this Women Making Waves campaign. Again, this goes beyond the sport of bass fishing competitively. It's about, I love the JFK quote, "A rising tide lifts all boats," because when we vocalize our opinions together, we can make change. And that's what's happening. People are noticing. In terms of competitive bass fishing, I don't know the real answer. I do think there's a place for women's leagues. There's obviously in other sports, basketball. Personally, I was raised by my father that said, you're going to go play the boys. That's how you get good at sports. So I'd go to local gyms and play basketball. I can truly tell you, I am a better competitor because of it. I'm not saying I wouldn't be a better competitor to play against all women, but I personally like to compete against men that make me better. And I challenge myself to do that. Again,
that's an interesting statement that you just made, because how do you say, you're told, oh, I need to go compete with the guys to become better. And I know you said the same thing, oh, well, I could compete against the girls and be better, but is there something to that? Is there something that says men compete better at bass fishing than women? Because I personally don't believe that that's a true statement. I believe that women out there have every ability to be you can go out any day of the week in a boat, blah, 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 whoop me if you need to. That's if you want to, you get the boat, you take the boat, you go out, you outfish me. That can happen. I'm not saying I'm better at it than you are, or you're better. If you put the time in, you have the skill, you can beat me. And that's not a problem. I think the problem lies myself with the egos of the guys who get beat by a girl. And that's such a problem in this sport. It is.
Fragility.
I don't think this becomes a problem with the sport so much as it becomes a problem with the egos in the sport. People have to realize that a competitor is a competitor, male, female, black, white, yet whatever. A competitor is a competitor. And if that competitor beats you on that day, tip your hat, say thank you. I'll learn from the ass whooping you just handed me, and go on with your life. But it doesn't happen that way.
But again, I agree, but it's just not, and people are like, it's never going to change.
100%
it can with awareness. You know what I'm saying? It's education, how you're raised and how you treat people. I mean, I've been cut off in tournaments. I've been had guys blow me, totally done that stuff. And I know there's several women that compete in the bass fishing world that have been treated poorly as well by male competitors. But for every 5 bad competitors, there's 10 good ones. So, so getting to the sport of bass fishing, like I said, I do have the stance that fish don't discriminate, but the problem is people do, and that we have just a different game that we have to play when we're on the water. It's different for me to go on the water and be one of the only women and be with 500 dudes and vice versa. A lot of us, I told you, get this undermining ability. Say I got fourth place in my first tournament this year as well, she's just a co-angler. No big deal. It's this fragile complex, and about egos, you're absolutely right that it's not good enough. Like nothing's ever good enough for our attempts in trying. But on the flip side of that, there's also been women that have done this the wrong way. Like there's women who will say that pose in bikinis or pose, and it brings a totally different complexity to the sport of fishing, because these women are paid for these ads. They have several 100,000 followers on social media, and a lot of these companies will decide, there's confusion. I can understand there's really a lot of confusion for the marketing companies, for the sponsored companies, these companies trying, who do we take seriously, what do we take seriously? But women are so harsh in judging. It's like at the end of the day, we all have our individual goals. Again, mine comes down to bringing people to Christ, bringing people to the sport of fishing. I compete
Right.
because I absolutely love to compete. So if we want to see more growth, we need to appreciate women for their individuality and their voice. And we need to have men stop their
Mhm.
little boy stuff and ego and just really check themselves and say, how am I being
Right.
inviting in
Well,
the
you know,
sport?
and that's a great point. I have friends who are women who fish, and I believe that some of them have more passion in their little finger than a lot of the guys that I've seen that go out to do this. There are so many, and I'm not saying the top anglers in the country, because I'll tell you what, I fish behind the guy who owns this company, Bass Angler Magazine, Mark Lassane, and I'll tell you right here, right now,
Right.
he's 62 years old, and the guy catches a 6-pounder and dances around like he's a freaking 12-year-old schoolgirl. Because let me tell you, the guy freaking loves this industry. He loves this sport. Yeah, he's just a guy that does what it does, and you got to fish with him, you and your friend, and
I still caught the bigger fish.
yeah, and you know what? I'm pretty
day.
sure that Mark didn't take it to heart. He didn't.
Yeah.
Right. It's and that's the way. But there are so many, and I'm not gonna, you know, and I'm not gonna name names on this but I will tell you, the guy that I fished with and the guy that took you guys out in his boat, they were not allowed to fish with you guys without somebody else there. Okay. And in my opinion, that is totally, it's just garbage. I mean,
that's exactly what we're not. Okay. So to relation to that, I fished with the guy that's and then we had to have another guy in the boat because actually we're not even told if they told the girlfriend, but like it would be wrong to fish with a guy. Personally, I've always gone about it when I fished on tour. So if I'm going to practice with somebody, I just how I was raised is to ask the wife permission, ask the girlfriend permission, because I personally feel when you build that standpoint with people, like you can build, you know, that's just how I was raised. So I would want to treat people like that. With that being said, I was in a tournament on tour and my boat draw got switched because one of the wives, the angler, this is where it's wrong. This is where the sexism comes into play. This is where it's not the same for us women. The company switched my draw because the wife complained so bad that the guy couldn't fish it. That's wrong.
That's definitely an insecurity on her part. But that's where it came from. But again, that's where it came from, it came from her. The company, you can't fault the company for that because they can't put themselves in a liability situation like that. If a wife's having problems, I know you'll disagree. And I fully understand why you would disagree. But I can because it's not. That's not making it equal. You're not making it equal. You're making special adjustments, seeing that we have special treatment. Well, you're treating the male anglers with special treatment. Why should we be discriminated just because the wives know that there could be a potential that women are going to fish in their boat? That's the name of the game. Well, and women, especially these wives, some of these wives are so amazing. Let me take this right to super controversial. If this is let's take it to a place where somebody is you got an issue. Okay, well, you know what? I don't want my son, let's say he's fishing as the pro, and some dad, mom, whatever steps up and says, yeah, I don't want my son fishing with that black guy. I don't want my husband. I don't want my whatever. You know, let's take that away from a woman. You know what I'd say? Right. Okay. Exactly. Then you don't have to compete. And we have catered to the white male agenda in this sport for far too long. And that's what I'm saying. It's not just about women, it's about people of color. We've actually had, according to Take Me Fishing, there was like a 20% increase in African American culture. There was that fished last year. Again, this comes down to the sport of bass fishing being a privileged sport. This still caters to this sport. You have these $80,000 boats and all these entry fees. It is still a privileged sport. We're not catering to everybody. It's not. So not just women, we're not catering to the people of color. I'd like to see more people of color, but it's like, what is the answer?
Yes. We have a process that we call simple price, simple process. And what that means is we take our lowest and best price and we post it on every single car. There's no back and forth. And by simple process, what that means is when you meet somebody, they can handle every aspect of what you do in your card transaction buying experience from beginning to end.
It's
Well, I mean, there's always been, I mean, and you know, you can say this, you know, you look at the NBA and you see, there's a couple, you know, black men that play in that sport, and, you know, other youth come up and they see that and they go, wow, you know, I want to aspire to be that. I see what he's made. I see what he's got. I see where he's at. And that comes down to this sport the same way. Jackie Robinson played in baseball for the first time, and other black men at that point looked up and said, I can be there too. When I look at bass fishing, I look out there and I see very few Ishman Rose out there, Brian Latimer's out there, Mark Daniels Jr.'s out there. But now I look around and I look for big names of women, and I see what, Pam Martin Wells. I see, you see where I'm going with that. It's just like, you just don't see. So where is it that these younger ladies that are coming out, who are they looking up to? Who are they saying? Well, the problem is like you said, what they're seeing is they're seeing that lady who maybe didn't do anything, but she got a sponsorship because she's beautiful in a bikini, or she is a pretty face and she stands up there and sells something. That's not a role model, because her passion isn't in the sport. It may be, she may have the passion for the outdoor world or for the sport, but she's not putting her name out there and saying, I'm working hard, I'm sleeping on the side of the bank so that I can be in touch with the water, like, you know, Rick Clunn used to do.
I'm going to challenge you because I'm not saying I support the women bikinis. Me as a person would never do that, but there is a place for everybody in the sport. And there's a lot of people in Florida that fish in bikinis, and I have to be mindful of what I say, because there is a culture down there that some do. Do I agree with it? No, I don't.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not talking about the women who are, you know, if I could have been in Florida in a bikini, trust me, I would have been. It was very hot. But right. It's the sex to sell thing that you look at and you say, and I have, like I said, I have friends who are in this industry and are new to it and are out there on the water. And I go, don't fall for that. You have a passion for this sport.
Yeah.
You have a passion for this industry. Let that shine through. Let that be your driving force. Let them see that that's what you're actually out here for, is that you love this sport so much that you're willing to do what it takes to get ahead, which means you're going to be out there practicing. You're going to be out there at dawn. You're going to be out there till dark. You're going to put the work in. And I see women out there now doing that. And I just don't, what I don't want to see is a step backwards or a step to the side, or them being bulldozed, or you know, if I ever saw, you know, someone out there sexually harassing a woman, I would definitely step up and I'd make sure something happened, whether they liked it or not. I don't think that's proper in any place or anywhere.
Right. And I have a lot of support. Like, I had an altercation, not something I wanted to be involved in, but it was at the Bassmaster Open on the James River. An angler had said something to a boater, had seen me in practice with a friend of mine that was a guide there as a co-angler. I've never fished. I never fished a title before. I wanted to learn from somebody that offered to take me. So I only had 2 days to practice on the weekend before actual practice, because I'm in grad school too, getting my master's. And the guy saw me and then said something in the tournament, because we were there first in the Bassmaster rules. My guy that I fished with said, this is a community hole. If you need to come here, like, take your guy here. If he has no fish, I want you to do well. So that's exactly what we did. We started there because my guy did not have, he listened to me. He valued my opinion. And this other guy that was a boater came in and cut us off, and was literally about 100, not even 100 feet, maybe 50 feet from our boat, and cutting us off on the bank. And he cut enough, and his co-angler had already sat down and knew he was in the wrong. And then he had said something to my boater, and then let's just say he said something to me very not appropriate for a woman. And I didn't handle it well at first, but we did have to DQ him. There's a lot of this going on too, not just directed at me, but in the industry as a whole. Why I was bringing that up is, like, there just needs the behavior of anglers. Like, we're not a one size fit all. Like, we all have to be mindful of that. But like with women, like, there are things that are said, and It does happen.
And that, you know, and that's unfortunate. And I hope in the future it goes away. I really do. I think that this is, like I said, I just believe this is such a great sport. I have a big passion for it. And I think that everybody belongs in it. I think everybody that wants to be in this needs to be in there, and there shouldn't be any barriers.
But you don't have to follow the elite. We
No,
don't have to
absolutely,
do that if we
100%.
don't want to. Like I said, my goals in fishing, if people want to work with me and I'm at a point in my life where people understand that I'm Christ-centered. I want to work with Christ-centered companies. I want to work with people that truly understand equity. And when I talk about equity, it's about fairness, and equality is about sameness. I'm educated. I have a degree in kinesiology, but I'm getting my master's in education right now. And we are trained on equity. So for me, this over the past 5 years, being trained on this stuff has just kind of opened my eyes to different perspectives. And that's where I formed my view. And especially after last year, living in Minneapolis, what had happened with George Floyd, I'm sorry, but it really opened my eyes to the realities and inequities in fishing and in our world. And what bothered me the most about that is this is why I call it a white fragile sport, and in a privileged sport, is because a lot of fishing companies or people didn't even acknowledge this uproar that had happened in our entire world, and instead would post fishing pictures and this and that. One side of that is, oh, they want to get political. This is a big deal. This is a super big deal. I couldn't turn a blind eye and not say anything. So I went down there myself, saw things from my own eyes, posted about the charity work we did and stuff like that. But to not acknowledge it is I feel inappropriate. And I feel not everybody needs to have these opinions. But again, that comes down to, it's always been this certain way, and now that people are challenging it,
Of course,
they don't like
you know,
that.
I said that before. You know, it's a cliche, I know, to say that no one likes change, but it's a reality. You know, everybody fights change, and whether it's good change or bad change. You know, I mean, I think in this country, this world, we live in a country right now, you know, that there has been a ton of changes in the years that I've been alive. There's been a ton of changes. You know, I wish I could say that, you know, racism is dead. It's not. I mean, there still exists to an extent. Is it less? Absolutely, 100%. We don't have nearly the rules, the laws, the things that we used to have. Is it getting better? I believe so. I believe there's a lot of changes that have happened for the positive. I look at you can pick up a TV anytime and look at things, and you can't say that there's not changes going on in this world, because RuPaul has a TV show, so that wouldn't have happened 40 years ago. Okay. There are so many things that are positive that we start to lose the fact that there are positives. And when something as big as George Floyd's happens, whether you look at it and say, this guy was right, this guy was wrong, that guy was, you know, he shouldn't have done this, he shouldn't have done that. You're right. Your opinions are always valid. Everybody's opinions are valid. I give everybody their opinions. I don't care which side you're on with that. Your opinions are valid. So love your opinions, but understand that someone's life was taken by someone else, and it just happened to be at a time when the country was super divided. And to not acknowledge the extent of it, it was bad timing for a lot of stuff, but it was also great timing in the sense that some things have actually, you know, some better things will come from it. Unfortunately, that it has to go to that extent. But no, and like I said, I think that when things like that happen, I like to say, yes, we can turn to our sport and say, we can bring people together, because I don't care who you are, where you're from, or anything else. If you walk up to me, I don't care if you're tattooed gang guy of any color, and you walk up and you're like, dude, how the fish biting? You and I just became friends, and we're going to talk some fishing.
That's non-competing fishing. Like I said, the water's open to everyone. That's the Take Me Fishing. And it's encouraging everyone that it is. But the reality is that it has been a predominantly white male sport. According to Take Me Fishing now, if you want retention, single moms are the ones taking their kids fishing. So we just don't have education out there. There's so many educational videos that are just redundant. about how to bass
Right.
fish or how to tie a Texas rig
Right.
from elite anglers. We need middlemen, you know, people like myself or others that hold themselves to a high standard. And I'm an avid angler, but are more into that. You know, my education
Mhm.
comes to women comes from new angler retention, and
Right.
it's reaching family anglers. So we just have to
Well,
put out the education, and we're missing so many companies. 80% of the industry obviously is, you know, in tournament world is this, and they're
right.
catering to that 80%, but we're not
Right.
retaining the rest of them, and that's where
Well,
the
and
education
and to
comes
your
in.
point with that is that with retention of those other anglers, you also get a longevity to your, you know, the outdoor world. We're losing the outdoor world. It's going away in some ways more than others. I mean, hunting is absolutely being, you know, bombarded more than this, obviously, than fishing. But you know,
Yeah.
but one of the things that I really do see a lot is there are a lot of people, a lot of women out there, especially that I'm seeing in the woods now. I'm seeing on the water more. I'm seeing them taking control and saying, you know what, I love being in this industry. Some of them got introduced by their husbands. Some of them got introduced by their dads. Some of them got introduced by just friends. And I look at it and I say, you know, there's been for so many years, the concept of, you know, raising a tomboy was a, you know, not such a good thing. You know, it's, oh, you know, my daughter needs to play with needs to play with dolls and needs to play with this and that and the other. And I think that's garbage. I don't have any daughters. I don't have anything like that. But, you know, had I had a daughter, 100% she would have been standing at the back of the boat fishing also. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Right.
My dad raised us right too. My dad was like, "You're gonna fish,
Right.
you're gonna bait your hook and take
Yeah.
your fish off, or you're not fishing." So I guess I was pushed always that way. And again, he always
Yeah.
pushed me to excel in sports. So literally, he dropped me off at the basketball in New Brighton, and I would literally play the boys to get better
Right.
because I had that will and want. And again, anyone can have the will or want. There's women out there trying to compete for the elites. I would just encourage them that we don't need just
Sure.
one person. It can be anybody. We can have several women competing. And what I see in the bass industry is the scarcity complex. So are they really for women in the sport, or are they for themselves? And I feel a lot of women are
Right.
competing for that title to just be that woman that compete, rather than actually truly loving it and wanting to be there. Like, I'm not going to fish opens because I'm not looking for the elites right
Right.
now. That's not going to work for me as a single mom, and that's not my goal in fishing. My goal, again, is to
Right.
bring people to Christ in fishing. I compete
Mm.
because I love to compete. I love bettering myself. I'm an athlete. I like to compete. So that's my goals. Like, yeah, eventually, if I had
But
time when my son's
right.
older, maybe I will
But I
compete in the open.
but I think one of the
But I
things you're
don't have to.
saying in that statement is that these women who have maybe taken that extra step, you know, don't turn around and put a fence up, turn around and put a hand down, grab somebody else and say, you know what,
But I'm
come on, yeah,
welcome.
here, let me,
Versus a
you know what,
door.
I was able to push this door open. Why don't you come through the door with me? And then turn around and say, you know what, why don't we open the next door
Exactly.
together? I think that's what needs to happen.
Here's the problem. Yeah, and you know, I think it's a maturity level thing too, and how you're raised. But we can have different set of opinions and not become disagreeable. But I've seen so much bull crap from women in the industry and myself, and I haven't handled things well. I'm going to be honest. Like, I have gotten into conversations on social media with women that had a difference in opinion, and it turned into, oh, well, she's badgering her career or this and that. It's just not okay. Like, and then I realized I should have never done that at social media. So I have made mistakes, but that doesn't mean I'm not challenging them in their career, putting their career down. We have this like fragility as women too, like, oh, we're putting each other down, and then we get this complex again. And I can get why when men would challenge, like, oh, they're dramatic or this and that. That's not fair. We're just having conversations.
Right.
Our conversations are different. So when I say there's a double standard in the industry, there is. Women are held to a double standard. I could say something on social media and lose a sponsor, but if a elite guy does that or acts inappropriate, there's several elite guys I know that have done things that
they may
for,
get talked to,
you know,
but they won't lose that sponsor generally. Right.
Again, that's the double standard. So we talk about wanting fishing to be this equal playing ground, but it's not, because we are held to a different standard.
Do you think
period.
that's because you're women or just because it's different? because it's something new coming in the sport?
No, because we're women. It's because we're women. It
Okay.
is absolutely because we're women. Again, and this comes down
Well-
to ego. I think ego, and that comes down to, you know, your background and whatnot. Again, I've been successful and I failed miserably on the water. Again, oh, it was just, she's just a co-angler, or she just got that sponsor because she's ethnic and she's a pretty face.
Mhm.
It's the minimization of women,
Right.
marginalization of women that make it worse. That's why we're not seeing progression. We absolutely will see progression if we continue to have courageous conversations and not calling women dramatic, not calling us contrary, not saying I'm whining, because I'm actually talking about this from an
Right.
educated standpoint, rather than, that doesn't make my opinion more valuable than someone
Mhm.
else's who doesn't. It just makes it there.
No, you have opinions.
that
Like I
make
said,
sense?
everybody's entitled to their opinions, and I'm glad, you know, like I said, I came after your opinion. I wanted it because I think it's valid. I think you have every right. You've seen a lot of things. You've been a lot of places. There are other ladies that I, you know, and women that I'm going to talk to, and some of them are going to have very different opinions than yours, and some of them are going to have agreeable opinions, and some are going to be in the middle. Some are going to be to the, you know, far, whatever it is. I just think that this conversation needs to start somewhere. I have a format. I'm going to start it. Mhm.
Here's my problem, is when women have this complex, their views and their opinion takes more weight than the someone else's opinion. Obviously, this Woman Making Waves campaign is bigger than a lot of people can understand. If you don't agree with it, that's okay. That's your choice. But at the end of the day, we feel, you know, there's women that feel like when we rise together and we support and encourage each other, better
Well, of
things
course it
happen
does. I
for
mean, that's
women.
just that's how everything works. I mean, like I said, take it back to Jackie Robinson. I mean, he may have been the first, but he didn't turn around and shut the door. He didn't turn around and say, no, that's
Right.
it. It's me. It's just me. You know?
All I would say is we have to do better. I have
Mhm.
not seen it to this day, at least the women that I know. I can still respect all these women and have a difference in opinion, but I see it getting to a point where people don't respect each other and take it as a total
Yeah.
personal shot when it's not.
Yeah, but
It's
that's
just a
our culture
opinion.
right now.
And that's why women,
Yeah.
and that's women taking things too
Mhm.
personally, myself included. Um, I'm passionate that we need to rise together. We do. We have to support
Right.
each other, even if we don't have agree. And then there's women out there that say you don't have to play, don't, you know, about women and men, and just show up and don't say anything and do that. To me, that's just conformity. We are different, so why shouldn't we be proud to be women?
Well,
and
here's a
anglers?
question I've had for this. Let's say you decided that, yeah, you're going to fish the elites, and you go out and you qualify to do it. And don't get me wrong, I still take nothing away from the fact that whether a woman wants to be there or doesn't want to be there, there is no, in my opinion, there is no way that she makes it because she's a woman, or because she, you know, or a guy makes it because he's black, or because name the freaking, there is no reason. You either qualify or you don't. You know, in baseball, you can either hit a curveball or you can't. In fishing, you can either compete and win or you can't. Now, I say that, but do you think that if you did make that you would be greeted with open arms from those professionals up there? And that's I mean, and I'm talking about the top guys.
Here's the thing. So, you know, I want to kind of bring up the past. Like, obviously, there's been two women that have made the Bassmaster Classic. They were up women's leagues, and a lot of people are unhappy about that. But I would challenge people and say that's not their fault at the time. Like, that's nope. And there's still college leagues. There's TBF. So if you want equity for elite anglers, I truly feel you have to eliminate all of it, not just the women's leagues. They didn't eliminate women's leagues because it's just women. They eliminated it because of the participation. So I guess what you're saying is, if I made the elites, I know that these women anglers made that and weren't treated with the respect. And one of them actually beat half the field in the actual Bassmaster Classic, beat half the elite guys. She finished in top 20 and was still treated poorly. I know for a fact, because I talked to the person that gave that someone complained and said that her husband was fishing for her when her husband doesn't even fish, and she had to take a lie detector test. All this narrative. Again, this is when women are held to a different standard and treated not equally. So we want equity and equality, and we say, oh, it's the same. It's not the same. Yeah, fish don't discriminate, but people do. You know what I'm saying? So if I made the elites, do I feel like I'd have a lot more respect or whatnot? I look at it this way, like if that was my goal, yeah, of course, whoever makes the elites as a female at the male ranking will have a genuine respect. But are we catering to that? It doesn't really matter to me. Like again, my value is not in making the elites. My value is not in trophies. My value comes down to
and I fully understand that. The reason I'm asking that specific question is this.
Yeah.
When, let's say a guy, you know, and this is a random, you know, Justin Lucas, young kid coming up. You know, let's name some, Michael Bennett, Mark Daniels Jr. When these guys started coming up, they're young guns coming in. One of the things they really look for is that, how do you say, what's the best word for it? I guess the confirmation that, hey, I made it. I'm here. I have fished all the events that I needed to fish. I qualified for it. I go out, I win an event. Yeah. I've done everything I can possibly do. I get here. And if they were to go up onto that stage and finish 10th, do you think that someone up there would be like, dude, that kid was like, his dad was fishing for him. You know, he was out there pre-fish. This was going on. That was going on. No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't.
No.
Right? But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Do you feel like if it was the same, if the roles reversed, and here's a young lady who's out there busting her tail, and she's competing and she's competed and she's won and she's done everything she needed to do to compete and she made it, do you think she would get up there and the guys would be like, don't mess with her, she's a badass, she's done this, she's gone through everything we had to go through, and she had to deal with people laughing in her face and pushing at her? Do you think that she would get the same respect? That's the question that's there.
I think so I appreciate that question. I think it's still a man's world. I think half the field would be appreciative and like grateful that this happened, but again, there's still fragile egos out there that would not accept it. And that's just how it is. Because if you look at progression of sports, for example, I don't know her name. I just watched a video on a girl that's actually qualified and plays with the boys, does really well in the little leagues, made the little league championship, one of the best catchers you've seen of all time. If you look at comments, this was posted on a page and it showed the sexism in the sport. They were belittling her, grown ass men belittling this young girl. Oh, I could throw that at that yard. Oh, she won't make it to the big league. She won't make it past this or this, and that. Again, it was that marginalization and that minimization of her efforts, even though she made it fair and square. So the question is, what is it going to take to have these conversations and switch from this cultural perspective that men are dominant than women, I guess. And when you go to look back, I like to talk about history and facts. The fact of the matter is, early on, 100 years ago or more, women were the Betty homemakers. We were made to be in the kitchen and breed and have kids. It was true statement that I've learned from women in sports history is that women were not allowed to compete in like the 20s and early 1900s in sports because go to college because they had fears. Doctors told them that their uteruses would atrophy. So again, it's been this complete, I think, progression in terms of it started like this. Men are still superior to women. So what is it going to take? I don't know. I think it's education and us just talking about it.
No, it makes sense to me. I'm the one doing the interview. I'm opening this door up. I know that I won't be super popular because of this.
I want to make sure I answered your
I know that.
I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, no, I believe that is the answer to the question. You know, there is just it is openness, it is honesty, it is people finally getting out of their own damn way and looking at somebody and acknowledging them for not who they are, not gender wise, not color wise, or anything else, and saying, good job on well, yeah, but good job on, putting in the work, the effort. You can't get anywhere unless you put the work in and the effort. I mean, I don't care how beautiful of a woman you are. You are not going to win the Bassmasters Classic on that. It's not going to happen. That's not, you are not going to do it. If you put out the effort.
Competitive bass fishing is about time on the water and overcoming your own obstacles, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend I don't have more obstacles than men. Like we do.
I fully
we have
believe right now you're right. I mean, it's just there. There's always going to be leaps and there's always going to be hurdles. There's always going to be barriers. There's always going to be things for the first that are doing it, for the people, until it becomes a norm. And I really do believe when we talked about the ladies coming up in college, the ladies coming up in the high school, there are so many young ladies coming up that are just out there doing it. I will sit right here and tell you flat out right now, I have got my butt handed to me by high school girls in tournaments because they can fish. I mean, and I'm not trying to take anything away from it. I stand back and I'm just like, there it is, man. You're out there doing the work.
Yep. And here's the thing. Again, and it's being the athlete that you want to be. You don't have to cater to the thing. And for me, I believe everyone has their own version of success. Like I told you, I could practice 2 days hard on the water or 3 days prior. And then the day before, no matter what, I have to sleep. I have chronic migraines. Like I gotta sleep. Like that's my equation for success. Just because Gerald Swindle or someone else, like whatever, goes and practices for 2 weeks prior doesn't mean they're not going to outfish me or what. However, it is proven that the more time on the water that you, it's just math. The more time you put in.
Well, it's been said on this show. It's been said on other things that, Jacob Wheeler right now is one of the best fishermen in the world. And was flat out, Fred Rombana said it. He said, that guy will outwork you every day of the week. He will outwork you. Well, there used to be a guy that was said by all the time. Rick Clunn was another guy. He will outwork you. He's still, I mean, at what, 190 or whatever he is now. Sorry, Rick, I love you. But that's the guy will still outwork you. He just will. He's put barriers up for himself too, but right. So if you're telling me, if you're
about the competitive world, but there are women.
If you're telling me that there's a woman that's going to go out there and she's going to be on that water and she's going to put sun up to sundown and she's going to be charting, she's going to be looking at water, she's going to be finding where the grass patches are, she's going to be doing everything she can, and she goes out and she wins, and she takes first, she takes second, she takes third, she's constantly cashing checks, she's she Jordan Lee's it, she comes out of nowhere and just starts doing this. I'm all for it. I think it's 100%. I still believe that she has to qualify and do that work, and I still have to see where she's coming from, because she's needs to do it, but it has to happen.
Yeah, and that's about competitive bass fishing. Again, I truly feel all women have a place here in the sport. It's not just competing bass fishing tournaments. But yeah, you're right. I mean, and the thing is, it's like, again, what we're dealing with, though, there are women out there competing on the opens that are actually putting in the time, and then there's some that just aren't performing, and that comes down to, again, it's a mind game. We know this is 80% mental. We can put all the time in on the water, but why do I get in my own head or what like that? Women can be their own barriers, but there are things that we deal with. We're still minimized for our efforts. I'm gonna say right now, even if I was out there all the time, it was, oh, she got information from a guide, or she fished with a guy friend, or this and that. Again, these are the narratives that are truly going on, and that's something we need to be aware of. Like that's why I'm speaking up. It doesn't mean I want to put in the time.
No, and it's funny you say, oh, she got information from a friend. Well, do you know how many guys I know that pre-fish on the phone? I mean, there's so many people out there.
It's never talked about. I know several elites that actually had fished with this guy I fished with at James River, called them before the tournament, and they actually won based on that information. But I got called up because I fished with him as a co, because I wanted to learn the water, and he was referred to me by an angler friend I knew nothing about. As a co, it's not my job to find fishing spots. Like it's I want to just do the best with the conditions. Why did I get
Yeah,
called
I don't
out
know.
on that?
That's what I'm saying. I wish I knew, because I can tell you right now, I have a tournament coming up and guys are fishing with guides.
This
And
comes down
it's
to
like,
women.
okay, yeah.
Women are held to a different standard, period. I don't care what you say. I could say something on social media, I'll get a talking to, because we are under a microscope constantly, because we always
Right.
are feeling we have to prove ourselves. But if some male elite, for example, if I missed a tournament due to a medical condition, I had a sponsor pretty much reprimand me and lower my stuff, because I was in the hospital. I made the first BFL. I was qualifying as a boater. I made it. I made it with a crankbait in my head, actually, a co-angler have the crankbait, and I was like, I'm making this. This is how I knew I have what it takes to compete against these guys, because I could switch it around. I had an actual crankbait in my head, and I still made the regional. I couldn't go to regional because I unfortunately had a heart thing that put me in the hospital for 3 days. So I missed regional. I had a sponsor come back and say, you're lowering your fishing expectations. So that's really unfortunate. But if this were to happen to a elite guy, would that happen?
Probably not.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm trying, I don't, like I said, there's things like I have been told from people, you shouldn't ask for money because you're a female, when I've gotten sponsors on, not just because I haven't made the elites, but I do all this other work leading up to that. Again, my merits don't come from competing at the elites or trophies. My merits come to bringing people to Christ and fishing. And that's why you have to have honest conversations with sponsors, and have your goals and missions